Hi there, it's Mindy. I think I'm going to call these little recordings Modern Mindset Musings by Mindy Maggio, Mindset Mentor. How's that for a mouthful? Anyway, we'll just stick with musings for now. I was just thinking about how we talk about prescribed living, right? And breaking through that. I'm watching old reruns of Mad About You. If you could hear it in the background. So I loved this show. And the episode that I was just watching was released in December of 1994. So if you don't know anything about Mad About You, it's Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser and this couple living in New York in an apartment. And I was so influenced by this show. And it reminds me of what we have now to influence us. Like Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. There's just so much information being thrown at you every single day. Well, television was no different. In 1994, I was so influenced by this, so much that I built my life around it, right? The prescribed life, like I've talked about before, is go to school, go to college, get married, have kids, or in the middle somewhere, get a job, and have, everything look like it's supposed to look, like it was on TV. That's what I did with Mad About You. Excuse me. I really set my life up that way. I mean, I had glasses. I was just watching this episode. This was 30 years ago? 1994? Less than? Okay. And there were these glass tumblers with cobalt blue tops. I had those. I also had a couch that looked like one of their couches. That's how influenced I was. So I was 24 years old and I was in a relationship and I had just graduated college and I had just gotten my first job and I moved in with my boyfriend and ultimately was getting ready to get married, and 2 years later, and I did get married. This is not something I share very often, but I was following this prescribed life. And one of the reasons that it's hard to share, stopped this relationship was this huge fear that I was going down the same path that my parents were. So I was living the life that my parents were living, who were so much older than me, right? I was every night making dinner, sitting on the couch, watching TV. We weren't traveling anywhere. We weren't going out dancing. I was 24 years old. We weren't doing fun things, but I loved the life because that's what it was supposed to look like. Right? Until I felt something more, like there was so much more that I was still ready for and wanting, and I didn't know what it was, but that's why I'm sharing this with you, because this is such a great show, this show called Mad About You. So much that I even wanted to move to New York. I really did want to move to New York. When I had an opportunity in the early 2000s, I was going to throw my hat in the ring in a consulting company to go work in New York. But then I met the love of my life in 2001. So that did change things, but I was in a completely different place because what started happening was that I became mad about myself. Get it? Mad about you. I was really mad about Mindy, about what she wanted, about what she desired, about how she wanted to live. That was the beginning of a lot of change for me when I left that first relationship and I spent time with myself. I lived alone. I learned who I was, and I by no means got there. I mean, 2013, I once again had a new up-leveling of my life and wanting something more and different and reinventing, going through another level of mad about you on myself. So that's the invitation for this musing, is really get mad about yourself, about what you really desire, and notice what is influencing you and how much you're recreating that in your life, but that's not yours. It's somebody else's life that you've been watching, that you've been seeing, that you've been influenced by. So get mad about you and actually watch some of these old episodes. They're fun.